Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Your Health Collective. Today we're talking about dairy. Does dairy make you fat? Is dairy good for you? And if it is, what's the best form of dairy for you to have? Let's face it, dairy's pretty delicious, but we want to be able to enjoy it and know that it's good for us. Elise, can you tell us where dairy is found?
Absolutely. So when we're referring to dairy in today's episode, we're predominantly talking about cow's milk dairy. So things like yogurt, cheese, milk, ice cream, butter.
All the dairy things.
All dairy things.
All the delicious dairy.
And Jade, what are some of the symptoms that someone might experience when they eat dairy if it's not great for them?
Yeah, so there's some really obvious symptoms with dairy, and the number one most people know about is definitely gut. We get quite a reaction when dairy does not work well for us. So we can definitely bloat, we can definitely get cramping and pain. We can often run to the toilet pretty quickly.
And some smelly farts.
Yeah, and some pretty smelly farts. That's definitely one. There's also a lot of symptoms though that aren't necessarily gut related, and this is often what we don't realise with dairy. Do you want to tell us about a couple of those, Dave?
Yeah, some of the symptoms, a lot of people will say, I don't really react to dairy, I don't have those gut symptoms, but they wake up the next morning and they've got a snotty nose. And I think that's a very common one, that waking up with a recurring snotty nose or sore throat or congestion. That's often, dairy is very mucus forming in the body, and when we take that out of our diets, we often see that congestion lift.
Yeah, so we get snotty when you have dairy, which is gross.
Yeah.
Even people, if you're experiencing every morning waking up with this postnasal drip or this feeling that you've got a bit of phlegm in the back of your throat, that is often a symptom of being slightly intolerant to dairy.
Particularly people that are eating ice cream at night time often wake up feeling that way. Yeah. And I suppose what we all want to know, Elise, can you tell us, does dairy make us fat?
So that's a really good question, and I know one that everybody wants to know. And sometimes you've been to a naturopath or heard from somebody that you should be avoiding dairy when it comes to weight loss, and that's predominantly due to the fact that dairy can spike insulin levels. Now, insulin is a hormone that's produced in the body in response to eating sugar, and a small amount of insulin is really important, but what happens when our insulin levels spike too high is it actually switches off our body's ability to burn fat. Yeah. So the reason that we would encourage somebody to be removing or limiting their dairy in their diet when they're trying to lose weight or having difficulty losing weight is because of that very reason, that it can switch off your metabolism or turn down your body's ability to burn fat, and can sometimes even store fat.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people actually realise that dairy is a sugar, that dairy has protein and fat in there, but it actually has sugar. Lactose is sugar.
And I think too that when we're looking at dairy products, we want to choose the best quality.
Absolutely.
And most of the nutrients in dairy are contained within the fat portion of dairy. So if we're choosing low-fat dairy products, we're often having very high sugar content in that product, which further spikes our insulin levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so that means don't buy low-fat dairy. If you're going to have dairy, have full fat, have the whole form, the best quality you can get. We definitely promote organic dairy as well, and that's because it actually has a lower sort of pesticide count than what your
So pesticides, toxins and chemicals are actually stored in fat and fatty tissue. So if you're going for a full fat dairy, which is what we do recommend, the reason to go organic, as we said, is because you want to lower that risk of consuming the toxins that come with that full fat. Yeah.
I think one thing that we also really promote with dairy is we love butter. Yes, it tastes good, but why would we actually want butter in our diet?
yeah, we love butter, don't we? And butter is something, it's very different to other dairy products. So butter's extremely high in fat, but grass-fed organic butter is quite unique in its composition. It actually contains something called butyrate. Now, we don't receive butyrate from in any other part of our diet, and that's something that feeds our gut. So it feeds the good bacteria in our gut. It can actually help people lose weight, and it's really important for our immune system health as well.
So this doesn't mean obviously go chow down a whole tub of butter every
That's
meal,
right.
but it does mean you can use butter as your fat source. So when you're looking at your whole foods and building a meal together, butter can definitely be part of that fat source, and that will actually help heal the gut, but it also won't necessarily have the negative effects that dairy can have as well.
So it's really about using dairy or introducing dairy into your diet in an appropriate way.
Exactly.
So what we're saying is have dairy in your diet in appropriate ways, in appropriate forms, and listen to the signs and symptoms if you do get any, and act appropriately.
I think it's important to know with dairy too that there's often a tolerance point. So 1 teaspoon of butter for one person might cause huge gut symptoms, but a dessert spoon for another person may cause no symptoms. So it's really important to know how much dairy you can tolerate and use the best form of that.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think we have to be careful about what's happening in your health as well if dairy is actually appropriate. As we said, it does cause an inflammatory response. So if you've got a face full of acne, dairy is not your friend. If you've got weight issues, dairy mightn't be appropriate for you either. So really listening to your body, coming back into the picture of where your health is and seeing if it's an appropriate option for you.
And if you're not sure if dairy is right for you, please jump onto our website. We've got a download available for you today after today's episode that has some alternatives to dairy products that you can use. Some of our favourite brands of products are on there as well. Please also jump onto our Facebook group and tell us how you feel with dairy and what your experience with dairy might be. Have you tried to take it out of your diet? Do you get the farts? Are you a snotty person with dairy? We want to know. And join us next time on Your Health Collective.